If you go beyond Bend, Oregon, you're in a different line of thinking. People just think different.
I suppose when you were traveling from California to Idaho 200 years ago, it would have just seemed like an oasis in the desert.
We aren't even part of Oregon. We're not part of Idaho. This is its own little separate thing.
I'm not antisocial, but we don't like people to stay very long. Population of Rome is about 25 people, and we like it that way.
Welcome to cattle country. Tucked away in the southeasternmost corner of Oregon are the Forgotten People. They're Oregonians geographically, but their state of mind lies somewhere else. Hi, I'm Rick Dancer. For the next hour, we'll take you exploring not just the land, but the history and the people who live that history. A state of mind that most Oregonians will find unfamiliar. So let's get started in a little place just up the road called Rome. 100 and some odd miles from just about any good-sized city is a place called Rome.
I have cabins, an RV park, a little store and a restaurant, and then gas, and then I have the tow trucks.
A roadside stop in an otherwise long, boring stretch of highway in one of Oregon's most forgotten places.
An oasis in the desert.
Malheur County, a French word meaning misfortune.
Do you feel like you're the forgotten part of Oregon sometimes?
Well, we hope we are.
Remote.
The supplies, I don't have a problem with the isolation, but when we need something, we have to go so far to get it.
Remarkable.
We don't punch a time clock.
A place where neighborhoods are spread out in acres, where 95% of the county is rangeland.
When you want to shop, where do you go?
The Boise Valley. And Boise's 117 miles from here.
10,000 square miles of county, an area roughly the size of New Jersey. Oregonians know nothing about it.
Pam White, who I think you met her. Okay, she took me out in her dad's pickup.
There's no doctor.
And I come walking out of my house, and she says, are you okay? And I said, no, I'm having a heart attack. He said, you get in this truck and I'll take you to the hospital.
Joel McLahanan bought the town of Rome about 15 years ago.
This is kind of a stop-off where if they need something, milk, bread, stuff that you use all the time, and there are no real grocery stores in the area.
Most folks who live out here are cattle ranchers. Not much else to do in this part of Oregon.
Population of Rome is about 25 people, and we like it that way.
There are no housing developments. In fact, don't even talk about development in these parts. It's not as if Romans don't like people. It's all the stuff they bring with them. People
have talked about, why don't we want to put in sewer systems and public water systems and start to incorporate maybe getting some more police support or fire department and stuff. And all that leads to taxes and bureaucracy, and we like it like it is.
Is that a dirty word here?
bureaucracy, pretty much.
Rome does have an ambulance and life flight out of Boise if necessary. There's even an airstrip. The Rome Motel is no Ritz-Carlton, but out here, hunters and travelers don't seem to care. Just don't clean your birds in the room. That's not a rule, it's just a request.
You gotta be straightforward, because if you BS us, we through it. You know, and it just won't fly.
Back in the 1800s, when the old-timers who live out here wanted a post office, they needed a name for their town. So they started looking around. Inspired by these columns behind us, they decided how...
The pillars of Rome are breathtaking, limestone carved by the elements and time into a natural wonder. This one, called the Colosseum, is round in the middle. Looks just like the Colosseum in Rome. But not one human hand had anything to do with this artwork. Life is so different in this corner of Oregon, so different.
There's no nightlife here. You just, you know, if you want to watch the TV, that's about it.
Cell phones don't work. Well, if you go up to the top of the ridge, just above the White's Ranch, there's a small area where certain customers can get service.
Just relax and enjoy yourself, and don't get too carried away with the bureaucracy. It's just, you know, one of those things, all the trail, and you don't know where it ends until you get there.
Misfortune to some, something much different to those who come, stay, and settle this place.
I've lived here my whole life, so I don't know any better.
I'm not dead. That sounds like something interesting.
In Coburg, treasure is still found in old trunks, furniture, and things Grandma thought of as everyday. Join us for the largest treasure hunt in Western Oregon, the Coburg Antique Show and Sale, Sunday, September 7th, 8 to 4. Remember, in Coburg, old is in, and over 50, priceless.
I see a lot of people with shoulder problems. Shoulder problems are really common. You know, you're a swimmer. You like to swim, so you're getting that overhead motion. When we talk about posture, even slight anterior rotation of your shoulder puts your shoulder joint in a compromised position. And for the shoulder to work properly, those rotator cuff muscles have to be working correctly. So the only way that they can do that is when your shoulder is actually in the position that it needs to be. And then the rotator cuff muscles can function properly. We can, use these muscles here need to get stronger. These middle shoulder blade muscles are some of the muscles that are very important in holding and maintaining your shoulder in the right neutral position. We can show you some really simple exercises that are going to target this without getting these other muscles going.
See, when you squeeze on that, I feel that.
Yeah.
I mean, it hurts.
Yeah.
Feels kind of funny telling you all this about Lockmead Farms. To a family of farmers, it almost sounds like we're bragging a bit, but actually it's not bragging when you're telling the truth. We operate our company in the same community where we live. Honesty, integrity, and truth mattered to Howard and Gladys Gibson, and those values still matter to us today. Doing our part and taking care of the environment has always been a part of those values. Sustainability is what farmers do, but they didn't always call it that. We work hard to reuse, recycle, and renew as much as possible. 80% of what we feed the cows is grown right here on the farm. We know what they eat, and the milk they give in return is proof they're getting the best. We even understand the value of reusing their waste. On the farm, we put in cutting-edge technology in the form of manure digesters to recycle cow manure into energy, enough energy to power 300 homes a year and our dairy. At the plant and the Dairy Mart stores, the sun's energy is taken seriously. Solar panels collect the power and help us protect and save the environment. In a nutshell, that's the Lockmead story. We're connected to history, to our industry, to our community, and to our family. As the sun sets in the west, everything is quiet again on the farm, but not for long. The cows will be up early, and so will we, doing what we do naturally.
If you live in southeastern Oregon, one way or another you are somehow connected to ranching. It's a tough lifestyle, and it's getting a lot tougher.
We ranch, run cattle. It's a way of life. You can even be obsessed about it.
A way of life you can't understand unless you do it. Ranchers.
Got married in 77 and moved to Rome.
Pam White's family homesteaded this land decades ago when few saw the potential. While wagon trains were headed to the valleys, a few saw something in this desert, something just waiting to be found. Sometimes you have to help create an oasis. Pam and her husband Jesse run cattle, grow grass, cut it for hay, and irrigate lots and lots of water.
It's the most important thing that there is in this country is water.
That's evident as you drive through Oregon's outback. When you see, you find homes, people, a town or two, and livestock.
You have to have it for everything. You have to have it to raise crops. You have to have it to water the cattle. You have to have it for yourself. Water is everything here. If there's no water here in this desert, there's nothing here.
Nothing but the Owyhee River and a few springs here and there. Ranchers say back in the early days, you didn't see a lot of wildlife out here, not like you do today.
We're not out here to just see what we can do to harm the environment.
Pam and Jesse say people have the wrong idea about ranchers and what they do and why they do it.
My family has been here since like 1916, and they've built water sources. There used to be from here to McDermott, Nevada, it's 68 miles away. There's a couple of springs out there in the desert, and now there's hundreds of reservoirs for the wildlife, the cattle to drink out of.
A few years ago, environmental groups sued ranchers to force the fencing of the Owyhee River. They had cattle destroying the riverbank. Pam says it's ironic. People in cities like Portland telling ranchers how to preserve a riverbank.
The Willamette River is paved to water's edge on both sides, and you look down at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning, every styrofoam cup in their hand, and they're hurrying and they're bustling. And for environmental reasons, they were eliminating our way of life.
Ranchers lost. The fence went up. Do you feel disconnected from Oregon?
Yeah, that we're not actually a part of Oregon. We're more like Idaho, and we're more like Nevada. We get all of our news, our weather, everything we get comes out of Idaho.
To folks out here, the big E, environment, isn't really something they see as controllable.
The good Lord is probably one of the most important things, because I know that He created everything. He created us. And as far as like environmental things go, I think in spite of us, He'll keep the world running in time for it to not run.
Pam says ranchers don't want to come to the city and tell us how to do things.
It's strife. They have to be allowed to decide how they want to live their life. I don't want them out here telling me how to live my life. And I want to be responsible about the way that we live our life. I don't want to do damage to the environment.
She thinks we have the wrong idea about nature.
Nature is a lot crueler. It's a lot uglier a lot of times than, you know, the mice, the fire, the coyotes that eat your baby calves. Those things, I don't think they really comprehend.
Ranchers feel outnumbered. They don't have time to fight over issues that make little sense to them. They've got hay to cut, to feed, and water to move. Do you like being around people?
I don't mind it, but it doesn't bother me not to be. I mean, I don't feel a need to be around people.
Rugged individualist. Hard-working people.
Ornery old KEZI people, or, you know, we're not that removed from the world though, you know. We're really not.
Living in Oregon's outback is a choice.
They say that most people change their careers or their occupation several times in their lifetime. I don't know anybody that's ever changed their occupation out here.
Determination is the key to living.
It's a way of life for us. I mean, it's the only thing we know how to do.
Also tonight, we're going to introduce you to a guy who, he just cracks me up. He said something that I will never forget. He kept talking about that even though they're in Oregon, they really aren't a part of Oregon. And then I asked him who the governor of Oregon was at the time. It was Ted Kulingoski, but he looked at me and started to laugh and said, I don't know who the governor of Oregon is. I think that said a lot.
On any given day, in the heart of downtown Jordan Valley, you'll hear it.
Well, what we've got here is a piece of obsidian from Glass Butte.
A clicking sound. A commenter.
I'll figure on taking one arrowhead out of this whole thing.
And that laugh.
Fella stopped right in this very park and he was a flint napper. He pulled out some tools and started making arrowheads, and I told him I'd sure like to learn how to do that, and he said, well, that isn't a problem, and it went from there. What we're doing here is taking off ridges. This is real predictable. I'll take this off right here.
To Glenn Fretwell. In just a few short years, he's become a sort of legend in these parts for flint napping.
I know what's going to happen. There's one hiding in there. All of this waste, which really wouldn't be waste to an Indian, is usable, but we won't use it. Sharpest surface known to man. They use it for eye surgery, open heart surgery.
When Glenn sees a rock, it's like an unsolved mystery just waiting for him.
Every time you strike this rock and take off a flake, it creates a little bulb up in here.
He has a good idea where that arrowhead is hiding, but then this is science and nature, so he never bets his life on it.
Really wants to be stubborn.
Do you relate to that?
Stubborn? More or less. I've looked at arrowheads from the time I was a little kid, and I couldn't imagine how they could actually do it. In fact, I'd played with it before and tried to do it. It's next to impossible to do unless somebody knowledgeable shows you.
Glenn says you learn a lot about ancient people when you try to do what they did.
They were without a doubt probably smarter than we are. Once you get started, there's a science to this whole thing. If you don't follow the rules of flint napping, it'll never happen.
Sitting under his tree, yes, his tree, in his park, on his bench, he does a lot of thinking.
If there are any problems of the day, they'll disappear if you pick up a piece of rock and start breaking it. Might be hard for a guy like me to fit in today's world.
That's how a lot of artists feel.
This has to do with what man has learned over the thousands of years to make his life better, I guess.
It's made Glenn's life better, just sitting in the shade, wondering about the past, the Native Americans.
I think anybody growing up in a closed society like that, he couldn't help but learn how to do it. He would know how. I can rough one of these out in pretty short order. I don't know how long we've been here, half an hour. I've had archaeologists buy them just, I think, out of curiosity.
Glenn Fretwell, hometown boy, not taking life too seriously.
That's the conditions of me letting you take my picture. You got to buy an arrowhead.
I'm going to buy it.
No, I'm going to give you that one.
Yeah.
You got to buy one of my others.
I don't want to see newspapers die. I mean, I tried to save the Springfield News, and it strikes home to me. I want people to be able, and if you're engaged in this business, you sort of know the way people feel about having a hometown newspaper, and when those go away, all of a sudden the pulse of the community is silenced, and there's not a way for the city to get out their legal notices or their meeting notices, and you know, they really rely on what is happening and, you know, the different events that they can go to. It sort of silences that. We sell them in the newsstands in Springfield. We have newspaper boxes, and they're in most of the stores in the community. Same thing in Crestwell. They can go to our website and subscribe. We have subscription information there.
Strength isn't just a word, it's a threat. Your muscles ache from the workout 2 days ago, but you keep pushing. Your core is tired, and what used to scare you is now the next hurdle to conquer. You push yourself just a little bit harder. The reward is not far off. People ask, what are you training for? The answer? Life. Your only opponent is the person looking back at you in the mirror. And when the workout is done for today, there's only one way to give back what you gave. Lock-Mead low-fat or non-fat chocolate milk. Recovery doesn't get any better than this. Off Highway 78, an hour or so out of Burns, is a place called New Princeton. With a name like that, we had hopes that were crushed quickly at first. There is a post office, a flag flying, a few dozen mailboxes inside, so there must be people who come here. Okay, it was a Sunday, so that cuts down on the hustle and bustle of Princeton. Lots of downtowns are slower on a Sunday. But you'd think someone would be in the home out back, unless they're hiding. No rabid dogs, no real animals to speak of, just some plywood cows. There's also some old tires on the roof. Now that's a little weird.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to build up much around here.
That's John Simmons, owner of the original Princeton. You know, before it was new, before it was moved.
It's the old town of Princeton, back in, I believe, the 50s and before that.
About a mile away from New Princeton is one of the original Princetons. Yes, we said one of.
We bought it in September, and we've got a little history on it, and it's since the old highway used to come through, or the old road.
You see, the post office moves, has some 7 times.
Post office actually got moved up here to the corner to another place, and then it's since moved over here to the manufactured home where it is now.
The post office moves to wherever the postmaster lives.
So I think 30 mailboxes there, and the rest of them are, if you're on the blacktop, I believe mail, they'll bring the mail to you. If you live on the gravel, you got to go get it.
That's just how it works in old or new Princeton.
So are you mayor then?
No, I'm not mayor.
If you own the town, then can't you do what you want?
I do on my own property town. Beyond this gate out here, I don't have much say.
That's it in a nutshell. That's why people live way out here, 40 miles or more from the nearest town. John left Portland for Bend, now Bend for Old Princeton.
Looking for
this right here. Quiet, peaceful, good neighbors, serenity, peace and quiet. I don't think they're going to build a Walmart here soon.
A few people, couple of kids, dogs, that won't stay put.
It's almost time to head home from Oregon's Outback. Stay with us. We want to show you our photo album and some of the other things that we learned on our trip.
Oregon's Outback. It's harsh, dry, and empty.
I was expecting it to be remote, but not that remote.
But rather than drive by a road stop, you pull in, you ask a few questions, you find another world.
When you got all those people together, you realize that there really are these little communities. You don't have to have a neighborhood like we have in the West to have a community.
I like the people here. The people are the greatest in the world. If I want something, all I got to do is go ask somebody for it. I've got it.
Their housing developments are thousands of acres, whereas ours are right next door to each other. And yet, to me, they seemed much closer to their neighbors and connected to their land and to the people and what they're doing there more together than we do in the West.
If you lived in Portland and your pickup broke down, you went across the street and took your neighbors out there, you'd probably go to jail. But it's not that way here. They'll know each other and they trust each other.
I never knew they were there. I thought it was all desert land filled with tumbleweed and antelope. And all of a sudden you go there and you find out that there are human beings, families, lives that have been there for 150 years, and they are very opinionated, and they feel very distrustful of us in the West, and they feel very much like we don't pay attention to them and we're just there to come in and tell them what they're doing wrong, as if we know what they're doing wrong.
Everybody is yet the same. We're all struggling. I mean, we are all going to that same common goal, you know, to get as many live calves on the ground and have them be fat. And just, you know, if I say we get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, they say, you know, I better beat them up. And they do. I mean, it is so cool.
The other thing I think that got me a lot was the simplicity. They're so simple, not simple-minded, but just simple.
This is all we know, though. This is it. We wouldn't function well in a city.
I don't even know who the governor is. I do not know who the governor is.
They don't have time to care about all the politics of the world and all the goings-on and who's saying what and what the governor's deciding or what legislators are doing, although they have to pay attention to that more. They're too busy.
You know what helped us more than anything? Hurricane Katrina. People donated their money to Hurricane Katrina, and they didn't donate them to local environmental groups where they could sue the socks off of us.
The supplies, and I don't have a problem with the isolation. But when we need something, we have to go so far to get it.
Every place we go is a long ways.
And there's something about simplicity in life, to me, that is like a magnet. It's so attractive to me because our lives are so complex in the valley and in our business, and we're so worried about, you know, making this work and make that work. You walk away from there after 6 days and you think, I really think they understand life better than I do, because they know what really is important, and that's hard work, that's taking care of your land, it's taking care of your neighbors, and living life. And I think sometimes I get so wrapped up in my concerns about little details in my life that really don't matter the day after tomorrow, and they don't have time to do that.
I'm the only post office in the world that sells beer and pop, so beautiful here. We love it. Desert. We've all grown up like this, pretty much everyone here.
Do you feel like you're the forgotten part of Oregon sometimes?
Well, we hope we are.
I hope I walk away from that and that, you know, Jess, my son, and I can walk away and that somehow infects your life to make you look at things a little different. I hope.